Hi, I want us to stop and pause for a moment. What we offered you before you get on to the rest of the course is to look at all the different types of births and to begin to understand that giving birth is the activity you're going to do with your child. It's not about statistics, it's not about philosophy or ideology around birth, it's not about all the opposition, natural birth versus medical birth, doctors versus midwives, home versus hospital. It's not about whether a vaginal birth is the best birth for your baby or whether the cesarean is. It's about the birth of your baby. In reality, right now in the present time, there are only three types of births. You can labor and have a vaginal birth, and that can be any place. And you can come into that labor with you or your baby having all sorts of health issues or developing them during pregnancy. And you can have good or bad outcomes. The labor itself can be something you tolerate or something you feel out of control of. It can be natural with no medical assessments or monitoring or procedures, or full of those things, which are now called interventions. And when you have a baby vaginally, it can be quick or it can be long. You can be damaged down there or not. Your baby can be fine or not. If you labor and have an unplanned cesarean after laboring, you're still birthing your baby, and you have plenty of opportunity to continue to use your skills while being prepped and during the surgery. Not because you failed to give birth vaginally, but because this is your baby's birth. And you have an opportunity that will not happen again tomorrow to continue to use skills at every moment of your baby's birth because you commit to your baby and using skills to birth your baby. If you have a planned non-laboring cesarean, either because you want one, you need one, or you're pressured to have one, don't skip a beat. Learn all these skills and then use them, because your body is preparing for labor and a vaginal birth. It's your mind that knows you're not going to do those things. So your body craves the skills, and you have the opportunity to become closer as a family, feel closer to your baby's birth experience, and to use those skills on the way to hospital while being prepped and during the surgery. Why? Because this is your baby's birth. This is what Birthing Better Families taught me. There was no difference between one birth and another. Each birth to every family is precious and important. Somebody else's birth is not as important to you. If another person has an ideal birth, well, good on them. And if your birth was challenging, it's still your baby's birth. And if you have skills, you're more likely to birth your baby with dignity and pride. If you are seeking to have a vaginal birth after a cesarean, well, just think about what that name is, vaginal birth after cesarean. The fact is that you have to get through labor first. 99.9% of all cesareans occur during labor. They don't occur during the vaginal part. So it's not a question of you having a vaginal birth, it's a question of you getting through the labor so that you can have a vaginal birth. So it's really important that you, particularly of all people, really take skills very seriously. What are the most common causes of the first cesarean? Well, sometimes there's a medical issue, which you'll probably feel fine about, but may want to try to have a VBAC. And then there are people who feel that that was an unnecessary cesarean, although at the time they agreed to it. And you guys it's very important that you become skilled. You don't want to have a second unnecessary cesarean. And the fact is that the most common causes of having that first cesarean are not medical issues. It's because the labor goes on too long, or the second stage goes on too long, which is not as likely because they're more likely to do an episiotomy, use a vacuum or forceps. And the first stage goes on too long and you get tired and the baby gets tired, and then everybody feels, let's get it over with. And the second reason is you do not cope. And not coping is an indication you're not skilled. And in fact, long labors are an indication you're not skilled and that you haven't prepared your body to open up to let your baby out. So it's really important that if you want a VBAC that you become skilled. Now, if you've been traumatized by a previous birth, either through circumstances, or you don't feel you were treated well, or things happened to you that you didn't want, and you feel angry and bitter and disappointed, you are going to carry that into your life, your family's life, and you need to heal that. And one way to heal it, as Birthing Better families did, is that they went through the skills and they mentally reapplied the skills to whatever trauma they experienced. There are many people out there that have very challenging traumatic births but are not left traumatized. So you've been left traumatized, and the best way to unwind trauma is to mentally go back and do it differently. Because remember, there's an old adage, when you know better, you do better. So whatever happened at the birth that traumatized you was as good as you knew how to do. But once you have skills, you know better. And our human mind has the capacity to heal the past by going back with newfound skills and redoing the experience, so that ourselves, our emotions, our spirit, our psyche, everything begins to heal, because had we known, we would have. So what we want you to do now is go on to the next part of this short course of Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation, and just really commit, you as a birthing woman and you as a birth coaching dad or other, commit to using skills to birth your baby. See you later. Bye-bye.